really, I think what our family's been good at is raising things our customers want to buy rather than raising what we want to raise.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't make money raising bulls, we don't make money raising horses, but we make money selling both of them. I thought I would go into physical therapy or something. I took a biology class and was like, yep, that is not for me, boys. So I kind of went back to kind of land management and found I really started thinking about it whenever I started getting close to graduation, and I had a college sweetheart that I'm married to today, and I was like, man, where do I want to raise my family? Because I love these people that are around me, but I really want my kids to have this connection with the land that I had. I think too many never give their passion that shot. I don't know.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. Today we got a real treat for you. Tucker Brown. You've seen him, I'm sure, on social media, all over social media. He's from the R.A. Brown Ranch and out here in cow country in Throckmorton. And I'm excited to talk about the history of that and then how social media has changed your life. How's it going?
Man, really good. It's exciting to be here. What a cool spot you get to be. And I've enjoyed the journey. I just saw where you were about to have your 52nd episode of over a year. But it's been really cool to see kind of the journey and that you've been on and the really cool people that you've gotten to be a part of. And now I'm just honored to be to be one of those.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. I want to start out with kind of the history of the ranch, and then we'll kind of go more into your role and then what you've evolved into at the ranch. But if you would talk on the history of the ranch a little bit.
Yeah, you bet. R.A. Brown Ranch, I'm the sixth generation there. My parents, they're owning and managing it right now. There's we were a family business. We have been since 1895, and that's our goal. The kind of the binoculars we look through is how can we keep the ranch in the family and the family in the ranch, and that's how we make our decisions. Is how that will affect us and the next generation. So, 1895 is when I guess it'd be my great grandfather was working in the stockyards at Fort Worth and had one of the first commission companies there. With the money he made there, he bought a ranch there in Throckmorton, Texas, where we still are today. And he sent his son out there to run and manage that. And been through a lot of droughts and a lot of floods and a lot of family members. But it's been really cool to learn more about the history and the character of the people who have come before me. Just because there's, with success and passing that success down to the next generation is becoming harder and harder all the time. So I'm more, what's the right word? Just in awe of, the forward thinking and love that they had to not sell what we had or to not split the ranch up completely. And it also helps that we're in Throckmorton and that there's not an urban area very close. So there's not many options for us to sell the ranch by the foot. Yeah. So that's also another spot. I love Throckmorton, and it may be close to nothing, but it feels close enough to everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly you call cow country, but I know that area is just a lot of big ranches because that's what the country's best suited for, I guess, out there.
Yeah, it really is. We get about 25 inches of rain, and I feel like that's just enough to grow some really good grass, but not enough to make that grass washy. So Throckmorton County kind of holds the name of the capital of cow country, and it does really well, and that's what we've been doing. We raise breeding stock, Black Angus, Red Angus, and Sim Angus bulls, and we've been in the quarter horse industry ever since the beginning, and we love both of those. But we really love being in the mix of mixing tradition and technology. And whenever we find ourselves there is where we feel like the ranch does its best.
Do you think, like, going back through the history and the previous generations, do you think that's been the mindset throughout, like the breaking out of technology? And because it's hard, like ranchers mainly have the mindset of doing it the old way and tradition and stuff like that. So it's hard to do new stuff.
It is.
And look at technology and embrace it. But do you think going back to your grandpa or however far back, do you think like they were thinking that way too, or was it recently?
Well, I feel like that mindset sometimes skips a generation, and I feel like it did with us. I mean, my great-great-grandfather, he would have, owning that commission company in Fort Worth, being one of the first ones, I feel like that was something that probably people said, that'll never work. Why would you do that? And so my granddad's dad, he was not that type of person. He was much more reserved. He had gone through, gone through the Great Depression. He'd gone through world wars and was much more conservative on that aspect of trying to save the ranch. But my granddad, he was the first one to go to college, went to Texas Tech. And when he came back, everything he wanted to do was kind of smothered. Kind of that old story that we see a lot nowadays of you'll earn your time whenever you work for me for 20 years, and then once I die, you can have the ranch. Yeah. But my granddad is very forward thinking. Sometimes a little too far. Thankfully, he married my grandmother, who would pull him back a little bit. But I feel like my granddad got the blessing of his dad to be that way. It wasn't always that way, but towards the end of my great-grandfather's life, he gave his blessing, which I think is important to really kind of get us where we are today. Because in 2012, my granddad gave his blessing to my dad of, all right, the ranch is yours. I'm comfortable. You live your dream. I've lived mine. And it's time for you to take over the ranch. And so that generation transfer has been something in my family that we think about, I feel like a lot more maybe than most people, because it is heartbreaking seeing those ranches get split up and sold and families breaking up because of it too. Mm-hmm. And those are hard conversations to have. It's almost like saying, hey, when you die, what are we going to do? And that's a hard conversation to have. Thank the Lord, my grandparents are still here, and that my dad loves it too, because whenever he has questions that he can still ask my grandfather of, the problems may not be the same, but the drive and the intuition and the forward thinking is still the same.
Yeah, and I think that's like a super important thing. That's why you see places get broke up and families fall apart over stuff and branch off and stuff, because nobody talks about it. Like, it's like, y'all figure it out after I'm dead. Or they write a will and don't tell anybody. So everybody already has their preconceived notion of, I'm going to get this, or it's going to go this way, or we're going to sell it, or we're going to keep it, or whatever. But there's no communication, and then it just blows up after that.
Yeah, and that's hard. Like I said, that's hard to watch. And I'm so thankful. I mean, thank the Lord, so thankful that my family thinks of that and visits about that, talks about it, because it makes it hard conversations to have, but it has made it easier on my family. And I'm very thankful that even after 2012, my dad had 3 siblings, and looking through that scope of keeping the ranch in the family and the family in the ranch, my dad and his 3 siblings all wanted to do something different. And so if we all stayed together, they weren't going to make any decisions. They weren't going to go anywhere. And so they decided the best thing to do was to each sibling to get their own ranch. We still all work together. We still have partnerships together, but each manage their ranch and go the direction they want to go, which I thought was really neat. I didn't know at the time was really cool in 2012. I thought that we needed to keep it together and we could all run it together and love each other. That may be a little harder than I thought at the time. So I'm thankful to be where we are and just trying to learn that how can I do that when it's my time.
Going back to the history, has the ranch always had kind of the same program as far as the type of cow and bull that y'all are trying to raise, and horse and everything like that, or has that evolved over time?
Yeah, there's been some, just like with many industries, there's trends within breeds of cattle, within what EPDs you want, within the type of horse, what you want it built for. So I believe we follow those trends.
DX Trailer Sales is based out of Lubbock, Texas, and it is definitely not just a trailer dealership. If you are involved in the Western way of life, and if you're listening to this show, you probably are, then they have something you need. From trailers for a day working cowboy, to a full-time cattle hauler, to hay trailers for a farmer or rancher, to arena drags, rope and chutes, and feeders for the rodeo cowboy or cowgirl. They also deal in every kind of hay any of your animals could ever need. Literally anything you need, farming, ranching, or rodeoing, they're going to have something for you, and it's going to be at a super affordable price. besides all that, everyone you deal with there is super friendly and very helpful. So check out DX Trailer Sales on Facebook or dxtrailers.com and tell them you came from the Wealthy Cowboy Show.
Really, I think what our family's been good at is raising things our customers want to buy rather than raising what we want to raise.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't make money raising bulls, we don't make money raising horses, but we make money selling both of those. So we treat it like a business, and because of that, we're always looking at what does our customer want and how can we create that? Because if they want to buy it, we'll make it. And my dad always says, if they want a Red Bull with purple polka dots, I'll find a way to make it, and then I'll sell it to them. But sometimes, we have our little hobbies where we want some horned cattle or some crossbred bulls to sell, and our customer base doesn't exactly want those. So when we treat it like a business, like right now, we raise Black Angus, Red Angus, and Sim Angus bulls, and that's what we make. But we've been in the registered business for a long time, and breeding bulls that work for our customers is we're in it for the long game. And I think that means when your product doesn't do its job, that you pay that customer back or give them another bull and replace it. And that's worked well for us. It's hard to eat at the time. And I've wondered why some bulls come in and they look like a twig and they say, well, he didn't pass fertility. And I'm like, you dang right, he didn't. Look at him. But Dad's like, all right, here's another one. He passed fertility test, get him bred. But I've learned to appreciate that, again, more and more.
Yeah, and that goes back to like Clinton Anderson talked about that a lot. It was like the purple horse. Like if you don't start breeding for what the customer wants, then you're going to have a whole herd of stuff that nobody wants.
No joke. Yes, for sure.
What about the horse program? How's that evolved? Because y'all, with Lanham and Miles starting to show a little bit, that y'all's horse program is getting a little bit of recognition now.
It really has. I guess it would have been my great-grandfather was at the table when AQHA was founded. And so we've had a member on the board or been involved ever since. And we like being involved because if we don't tell our story, somebody else will. And I'm sure I'll say that again in this podcast because I really like it. But we do believe in being involved in helping making decisions and or at least sharing our opinion, whether it's right or wrong or whatever that may be. But the horse deal has really come along in the past 10 years. I mean, the money that's gone into it has sure enough helped with more and more people being interested in having ranch horses. And I think COVID helped that too. Everybody kind of moved out of Dallas, went west and bought a little ranch and a horse, and they wanted a place to buy that horse.
Yeah.
So my granddad loved just big, stout ranch horses. And those older bloodlines, he really liked those. And being able to have a horse that could drag anything, whether that's Sim Angus bull all the way to a calf that needs branded. And it's been neat watching my mom, my brother, and my cousins put together a group of horses that are able to work on the ranch and then go to the show ring and do really well. Mm-hmm. My brother won the non-pro snaffle bit. We've won the best remuder award at a couple ranch rodeos. And I can't say training horses is the itch that I have. I'm definitely more on the cattle side. But I do love it because their rejects are awesome ranch horses. Awesome ranch horses. But it's been neat because I do love riding a horse. And I think a lot of people like it. I think we all got a little cowboy in us that there's a reason we like riding horses and having that connection with the horse. And so it's fun watching the bigger population find that out and kind of join in. Some people are a little gatekeeping on that, but shoot, I'm all in.
And then kind of jumping around here, but back to the history of the ranch. To be in business that long, I mean, so much stuff has come up from Mother Nature to, like you said, the family and wars and economy and stuff like that. Is there anything that like sticks out in your head of how y'all use that to grow, like some kind of new technology or new practice or something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the one that I remember the most, we kind of learned the hard way of just how important nutrition is to our bulls. And there was a time where our bulls were foundered. All 600, we had 600 ready to sell, and all 6 of them had foundered. And so in 2005, we canceled our bull sale. I mean, that's the day for a ranch to go a year without its paycheck. I mean, we were sending 2005, they were probably averaging 6,000 maybe. And we sold all of them for salvage value rather than breeding value. So that hurt. But I think that was also a testament to protecting our customer, because we knew those bulls weren't going to work. And that helped us learn more about feeding and nutrition than any other time we've ever been a part of it. So when things like that do happen, thankfully we are diversified, and we believe that to be an important part of why we're still here today in the businesses that we run on the ranch, whether it's hunting or farming or horses or cattle. We try to be diversified that way. But I think so. There was a fire that came through last January, 2 Januaries ago. And that's when we made it burned some of our fence lines. We had 4 of our main pastures burned, parts of it. And that's when we made the decision to move to virtual fence. And so, yeah, I've never really thought of it the way you asked the question. But yeah, that natural disaster kind of forced us into using this new technology that we're still using today and plan to keep using.
And what is that?
The virtual fence is really neat. The best way I can describe it is it's one of the invisible fences that you may use for a dog. And so we can use a GPS. Our cows wear a collar, a shock collar, basically, that has that connects to a tower that connects to satellite. And on that satellite, on our computer, we can set a fence in our pasture, an invisible fence. And when the cows get close to that invisible fence, that collar will beep at them. And they know, if you train them correctly, they know, hey, I'm getting close to this fence. I need to turn around. Because if I keep going, I'm going to get a shock around my neck. And it's been really neat to watch it work when those cows, if we're pushing cows and they hear a beep, boy, all their heads pop up and they're freezing. They're like, nope.
Everybody turn your phones off and stuff while you're driving cows.
Right. Yeah, that's been a technology that's been new to all of us. And I feel like it took us a year to really learn how to use it. But I don't know. We feel like if there's a tool out there that can make us better, that we want to try it. Yeah. And we've tried vents long enough that we believe we want to keep using it.
Yeah, I always say like what are you going to lose? Like trying something new, the upside is tremendous. You're going to be more efficient, more profitable. And that goes with like anything, like taking a course, reading a book, going to an event or whatever. And so the upside is huge, and the downside's like you're going to lose a little bit of time, a little bit of money or something like that. You know, it's not that big. And I want to stay on that some more. So like how is the process of training them? Is it something like hot wire training? Like you put them in a trap to teach them a little bit, and then how long was that process, and then like how's the success been with it? And like, are there some rogue ones that just don't care or something like that?
Yeah, that learning process has been interesting for us. I feel like just like a lot of ranchers try, we thought we had a shortcut on our second group of cows. The shortcut didn't work, and then it just made our whole cow herd kind of rogue for just a little bit. So we had to bring them all back in, and it's a 5-day training process. We have them in an 80-acre trap, and we start by putting the virtual fence on the very outside along the fence so they can see a visual barrier. Mm-hmm. And if they try to go up against that fence line, they receive a little shock, or they hear that beep first, and then they hear a shock. And then we move it about 10 yards off the fence, and then another 10 yards off the fence. And by the 5th day, you cut the pasture in half, so it turns from an 80-acre trap to a 40-acre trap. And that's your test day, saying, all right, are these girls ready? And will they, if there's no visual barrier there, will they cross it? And sometimes there's a few that do, and we just have to keep training. But probably 98% of the time, 98% of the cows have got it learned in 5 days.
That's cool.
But we have had a few recip cows. They tend, I don't know if this is for everyone, but for us, they've tended to have a little ear and be a little faster than our Red Angus and Black Angus cows.
A little more hot-headed.
Yeah. our registered herd just as much as we're in them and weighing their calves, and
they're pretty gentle already.
They are probably enough to make some cowboys mad when we're trying to push them. But it's been really neat because we can use that to graze our pastures efficiently without using electric fence, without being out there the whole time. Mm-hmm. Is it as intensive as maybe using electric fence and 5,000 yearlings? No, it's not. But for our management system, it's worked quite well.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you mentioned your diversification, like all the stuff y'all do out there to make income, and when Park Greason was on, kind of the same thing, utilizing every bit of income that you can produce from the ranch, and getting creative. Like, what all do y'all do?
Yeah, I think we talk about creative finance a lot. Of the cow is a byproduct of land management. And if we can look at it that way, so many of us love the cows, and I know we love the cows, and that's why we're in the business, whether we love the horses or the cows. But those are byproducts of managing the land, and there's other ways that you can use that to keep the ranch going. Some of those have been hunting in Throckmorton counties really sought after. So we have a third party that'll guide a couple deer hunts. We'll do some turkey hunting, some duck hunting, and then there's no well water in Throckmorton County, and what well water there's salt. And my granddad was very forward thinking on building tank dams and just really good dirt tanks in every pasture. And we've been able to sell water as a part of having those really good tanks, and we've never gone dry. Even in 2011, 2012, we never went dry. We did in a few places, probably 75% of the ranch, but we still had places with really good water. So water's another one. We've always been in the horse business. We've always been in the cattle business. My thing coming back was adding a beef business, and I still do that. And a part of it, I think it's important for me to go back to whenever I graduated high school, and my brother, kind of our family thing is you have to leave the ranch for 2 years. You can go to the workforce, the armed services, college, wherever. But you have to leave for at least 2 years. And then after that, if you want to come back, you can. And if you do, you have to come back with a business plan to grow the ranch rather than divide it again. Mm-hmm. Grow it to be able to support another family. Some of the hunting stuff, when I came back, some of mine was more hunting stuff and the beef business. And now social media has kind of slowly fed into that to where now that's probably the main thing that I do that I believe adds value to the ranch. So, yeah, we're always really looking. We do some Airbnb stuff, Airbnb. We're kind of always on the lookout.
Yeah, and that's what I think if you have a big cool ranch like that, and just depends on the spot and stuff, but wedding venues, Airbnbs, like event venues, things like that. Like I know I see on Facebook that the Stewarts have built a big hunting lodge deal, and they can rent that deal out and stuff. Like that stuff's pretty cool to give somebody an experience.
Yes.
But let's go into your role in the ranch. Kind of like you already said you had to leave for 2 years and come back. Mm-hmm. What when you left, what did you go do? And then you kind of mentioned what you did when you came back, but just kind of go back more into that and kind of what your role evolved as. Have y'all seen the prices of bulls these days? Just a decent one at the sale barn cost is crazy. It might be time to look at leasing your bulls instead of buying them. 100th Meridian Ranching specializes in leasing out quality bulls. This can save a lot of headache with dealing with bulls and all that, and also help out your bottom line. They deliver all across the country and have several different kinds of bulls to fit your specific operation. Check out 100th Meridian Ranching on Facebook, and you can also check out their website, 100thmeridianranching.com.
Whenever I left, I planned on coming back for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that was about it. But I went and played college basketball at Lubbock Christian University, and I loved it. I played for a year and found out that I am quite short and not as fast as I thought I was. But I loved my year of playing. But going to that school put me in a group of people that I'd surrounded myself with a group of people completely out of agriculture, even in Lubbock, Texas. And so that was really new to me of being in that group of people and what they like and what they thought about ag. And I think that really helped me in doing my social media today, which I'll get to in a minute. But I went there. I knew I thought I would go into physical therapy or something. I took a biology class and was like, yep, that is not for me, boys. So I kind of went back to kind of land management and found I really started thinking about it whenever I started getting close to graduation. And I had a college sweetheart that I'm married to today. And I was like, man, where do I want to raise my family? Because I love these people that are around me, but I really want my kids to have this connection with the land that I had. And I wish that more of my friends at this college and this university had. So that really made me want to go back home. I went to TCU Ranch Management, one of the best things educationally I did. I loved that. Came back home and started doing some more hunts and just started out as a hand, bottom of the totem pole, helping everywhere. And that was the spring. That was the spring of 2017 whenever I came back. And so been home ever since, and I've moved my way around every position on the ranch. I've been ahead of developing 800 bulls. I've been ahead of our Grow Safe feeding program. I still feel like I'm the feed truck driver, but we have a good one. Just when he's gone, I'm the guy that's doing it.
Yeah.
So learned a lot about nutrition, and being in every aspect of the ranch has kind of helped me. But now I've kind of moved in. It's been kind of a 2-year movement of me doing more marketing, social media, speaking, and a little less of the day-to-day, which has allowed me to move a little more into management of the ranch and making some decisions on should we graze our wheat or not. I'm not branding the cattle anymore, but I'm still riding for the brand. So that's been a slow movement of that the past 2 years. And today, if I go to the ranch, I'm making sure the foreman, whether he needs me, whether he doesn't, and if he doesn't need me today, then I'm going to work on helping my dad. And if he doesn't need me, then I'm going to work on my social media stuff. And how can I advertise for the next bull sale? How can I advertise for myself for speaking? And then how can I just continue to grow my content creation platform? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the steps I go through daily.
What does the family think about the social media? Did they embrace that or think it was dumb at first? Or I'm sure now they're seeing that there's more business coming to the ranch and it's more known.
Yeah. I mean, at first it was during COVID, and social media was our pretty much only way to get in front of people. And we love marketing. My mom and dad they're really good at it. And so they did know the value of social media. It kind of got to a point where I was liking it a whole lot, and they were like, let's not do this as much as you're wanting to. So for about a year there, we were in that battle of me seeing the value, and the ranch and my family, who didn't, smother me and push me away, but were more like, all right, like, we see what you're doing, but put your phone up and push those cows.
Yeah. Get some work done.
Yeah. So that's been a hard line to walk, of still doing I'm always wanting to do my job right. But I'm always thinking now of how can I capture this? How can I capture my job and still be able to share it? Because during COVID, we found out that people are more interested in the cowboy way of life than ever before. And what I thought was just advertising for the ranch turned into content creation. Mm-hmm.
And it's basically giving you another avenue for revenue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And today, if anybody works for their family, they know that salary is not what's going to make you rich, is getting a salary from your family. But part of coming home, is giving you enough money to make a living, but not enough that keeps you hungry, keeps you moving. So social media has kind of been that for me. And now, it's been phenomenal for my family in a way of, I think this year will be the year that I finally make more on monetizing than I do from salary. And I know I'm so thankful that my family sees the value in that. They may not agree with everything I do, but success is a really good pill for that, a really good pill for that. So as long as I'm doing good at all that, as long as I'm still bringing people to the ranch, as long as I'm still bringing people to buy horses, the horse guys will let me keep videoing them. As long as I'm still bringing people to come to that bull sale, hey, that bull developer, he's still going to let me do that video. So that's what I think I've really learned is as much as I want to push myself on my social media platforms, if I bring these other parts of the ranch with me, then it's kind of like the whole ranch is with me. And I have to keep that in mind.
How did it evolve? Like when you started it, I know like during COVID, so many people like blew up, especially on TikTok there. Was it kind of like that? You just kind of started it and it blew up all at once? Or was it a lot of posting, a lot of perfecting it and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it did start with TikTok. I remember I had an intern that was telling me about it, and I was like, it's just another platform that'll go away. But I've been in media. This will be my 11th year of broadcasting on the radio for football games, high school football games. I love media. I love announcing things, and I love listening to really good announcers like Justin McKee, Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, like guys who can paint a picture so well. And those
you kind of already had the skills then whenever you came into the social media game.
You're right. I mean, I had that itch for media. And whenever TikTok came out, I actually loved video a whole lot more than I did voice. And whenever I could combine those two, I was just like, oh, this is my kind of happy place. But it started with TikTok. And with that going wild, I remember the time where I really remember of like, all right, I can do this and I can take it seriously. NCBA was giving away a Advocate of the Year award. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And this young lady from California at NC had won it the year I saw it. And she was a first-generation rancher, had 12 Hereford cows, and was just sharing what she did with her 12 Hereford cows. And I was just like hit in the face of like, that's incredible. Like this young lady is able to share everything she does, and it helps her business. And then I have this really cool story of keeping the ranch in the family and the family in the ranch. And I'm a storyteller and I'm not doing anything. I felt so called out. And I told that young lady, I was like, hey, thank you, because you made me go do it.
Yeah. And what was that? Did you have to post so many times or get so much of a following, or was it just a vote deal?
Yeah, it was a vote deal. And so that was in February of 21. And so for the rest of the year, that was just my goal of like, all right, all I have to do is show me ranching, and then try how can I entertain somebody and educate them at the same time. And I use the word edutainment. That's kind of really where I have a lot of fun in making my stuff. How can I do my job, capture it, and teach somebody or teach the public about what I'm doing? And I think that's really what has given me the success I have, of where I now have over 500,000 followers across a couple platforms, a podcast, a YouTube channel. I've been able to hire a person to help me do all that. And all of that has come from when my videos do their best, when my platform is its best, is when I'm doing entertainment and education together.
Yeah. And that kind of, I don't know if that's when it caught on or not. Like I didn't start paying attention till, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago to social media really. But that is like the thing is if you can combine those two.
Yeah.
I always say that, like this show and my stuff is not really entertainment. It's more for education, but you have to do some type of entertainment to get the attention. How did you construct that? Like how long did it take you to figure out the formula, and did you study like different people or something like that?
Yeah, I like learning from other people's mistakes rather than my own.
Right.
I can't say I've always done that, but yeah, I'm not scared to use what's working. So I scroll more than a lot of other cowboys, a lot of other ranchers, because that's part of my business. What's trending? What are people watching? What sound is working? And then what I like to do is when I see these trends that ranchers or the ag industry probably hates, I like to grab that trend, because I'm not trying to reach ranchers. I'm not trying to teach ranchers about cows. I think as I reach for my platform, I think as I reach to the common public, that I reach ranchers along the way. But if I just make my videos in a way that's really easy to understand and makes me kind of give a face and an approachable face to where people can ask questions. Because there's a lot of questions on social media. Most of them purely curious. Some of them are some hate comments, but that's all right. But that's all right. I've learned to take those as they come. But it has been a really new journey for me to learn how all of that works. And I follow some people that I may not like their content, but they're really good at making people watch their videos. So what can I take from them to add to mine? And how can I make those trends ranchy to where our people can understand it?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same way. Like I don't do like a lot of trending stuff in my videos anyway, but like I do try to follow people, and I've taken a bunch of courses and done a lot of education on it. But I scroll a lot, and we talked about earlier, like Facebook's kind of my platform that I like because I like the blend of it. But I'm scrolling a lot, and Shady will get mad at me because she's like, "You're always on your phone," and I'm like, "It's kind of, it helps now.
It does.
It helps pay the bills." So, and I try to differentiate it of, that I'm doing it with a purpose. Sometimes I can just, you're not thinking, you're mindlessly scrolling, but I like to scroll. I'm always looking for guests to be on here, somebody interesting or something like that. Some bargain that's for sale on Facebook, on Marketplace, or something for trade, or like a business owner looking for something or whatever. So I'm always scrolling, but I'm always trying to find something like that to produce income. And I think you kind of got to, because I get a lot of ideas that way. Like you said, like I get a lot of content ideas, I get guest ideas, I get topic ideas of posts. And so, I mean, following what somebody else has already done that's had success is the way to have success in any industry, whether it's cowboying or business or social media.
I agree. And can social media be bad? I think there's a negative connotation to influencing or content creation. And for you and your ranch, you don't have to use it. But I'm going to, and we're going to have to compete against each other. So my dad says it all the time. He's like, man, change is hard, and we know it, and especially for our industry, and change is hard. But the good news is we don't have to change. But we do have to compete with those who do.
Yeah.
So I think since my granddad, that's the way that my family has really thought. So I got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I heard was like, if you want to be, I think the example they used was if you want to be president, there's somebody out there that's going to lie, cheat, steal, do every possible way to cheat and manipulate to get that position. And if you come at it from the standpoint of like, this is my line, I'm not going to cross it, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. You just have to know that other person is doing it, and y'all are competing. So like, you just have to keep that in mind. Like I always say, you can live in that world, I'm going to live in the real world.
Yeah.
You just have to keep that in mind. We can't just stay in our own little world and
I like that.
Act like it's not happening.
You made a good point there. I think a lot of ag content creation stays within the ag industry. And when really, I mentioned it earlier, if we don't tell our story, somebody else will. And for a long time, news stations and our competitors in people pushing not to consume meat or beef has been telling our story. So we don't get into ag to talk to people, but it is important that we tell our story. So that social media gives us that platform to reach. I mean, just on Instagram alone, this month I've reached 2 million people, and that I would have never touched before. And whenever you start realizing the effects of, or the impacts or the good things that can come from it, and you use social media that way, like that's where the power is. It's not in that mindlessly scrolling that you talked about, or insecurities that we can get from that. It's a tool, and you can use it for good or for bad.
Yeah. Same as money.
Yeah.
The tool.
So true.
Yeah, it's, and like you all your critics, probably aren't doing anything. They're, oh, that's not right, blah, blah, blah. We don't do it that way. And it's like, well, go tell your story. Go show your way to doing it. And people want to talk crap about Yellowstone, and that's not realistic. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what's being portrayed. So like, if you don't show the real way or show the way you're doing it, this is what everybody thinks is happening. So, it's kind of on you to go in there or advocate for somebody else to go in there and tell what you think is the truth. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people just want to sit back and talk crap. But, and also I love that you want to reach, you're not doing it for us, you're doing it to reach a new audience. And that's where I've gotten hate on that. Like the comments I make, like having the NFR, like on the Cowboy channel. I'm like, the Cowboy channel is awesome, but like if we want, like, it's awesome for us. Yeah. But what about all the other people that have no clue? If it's on ESPN or if it's on a different network or a different way of marketing it. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a different network, but we want to attract, if we want more money, if the contestants want more money, we want more money in our industry, we got to go get new people, not just keep the same people in.
Yep. No doubt.
So a lot of people, I think, don't look at it that way. Like they want to live in the world of like, no, we're us. We don't need anybody else. But when you want to sell a $high horse or a $high bull or some beef or something like that, or win a bunch of money at a rodeo, it's like, yeah, we need more money. And that's where it comes from. It comes from the outside. So how can we attract outside people into our industry? Like thinking outside the box. Like, I don't know if you saw the Kid Rock rodeo, but that was thinking outside. That was thinking outside the box there. I think that would attract a different crowd, and it probably did. We'll see more going into this next one, but just thinking outside the box, like I think you just got to get creative, and like you said, we got to go capture the attention of somebody outside the industry. Show that it's cool. Show that it's cool to eat beef. Show that it's healthy. All the things that we're not bad people. Just because we ride horses and use spurs and bits and whips and stuff like that. You've heard us talk about the LRP program on several episodes. It's a program that allows you to lock in prices to protect yourself from downside risk while allowing you open to upside gains in the cattle market. Cameron Floyd with Livestock Risk Services, based out of the Oklahoma City stockyards, specializes in this type of coverage. He's also a cowboy that lives it every day, so he can relate, and he enjoys helping other ranchers get the peace of mind knowing they're protected from the downside risk of the cattle market. It doesn't matter if you're a small producer or a large operator. If you're in the cattle business, Cameron can probably help you. They have options for cow-calf producers, stockers, and feeders. These programs are designed to protect you from down markets and allow you to create a business plan for your operation. There's no margin calls, no brokerage fees, no minimums, no upfront costs, and your premiums aren't due until the end of the endorsement period. And they're also tax deductible. This program can be a game changer. Go back to any of the episodes with the cattle guys, and we talk about how they use it to manage their risk. Contact Cameron Floyd with Livestock Risk Services at 918-604-1775. You can also check out the website, livestockriskservices.com, and there's also a quote tool on there. We'll put a link down below and Cameron's email down below. And remember, tell him you heard about him on the Wealthy Cowboy Show.
For good reason, our industry gets mad at whenever we get like, well, how could you use spurs? That's so bad for a horse. When really the only reason they think that is because they saw it on a channel that doesn't like our industry. I don't know what you can name that channel. You can probably name a couple of them. But when we have that spotlight, Yellowstone's kind of given us. When we have that, you mentioned it. That's our opportunity to tell that story. And I don't like the word, I don't like to use the verb educate. Let me educate you. Because nobody wants to be educated. If somebody told me that, the first thing I'm doing is building the wall up and I'm not listening to anything, right? Because if there's somebody who votes differently than I do and that's how they introduce themselves, then I already am not believing, and a lot of people are not believing.
Let me tell you how it is.
Yes. But what I like to vision it as is somebody saw Yellowstone. They asked me a question about it. All I want to do is open the gates.
Yeah.
I'm not going to teach you anything. I'm just going to say, when they tell me something about spurs and how bad they are, I'm like, look, that's how I can communicate best with my horse. And whenever there's a bull that's coming at me and I need my horse to know where I want him to go, that helps me do that. And it's a tool. Can it be used for bad? Yes, but it's my job to make sure that I use that in the correct way. And when we start talking like that, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But if we fire off and say, listen here, you idiot, let me educate you real quick. That doesn't help anybody. It actually makes that disconnect way worse. So changing my vocabulary in a way where our new consumer, our new watcher, or a new person into ag can understand easily has been a learning curve for me on how to make that vocabulary correct and approachable and open to questions. That's been a 3-year journey for me of figuring out how to do it best.
Yeah. One thing, I don't know why I just thought of this, but I don't understand like the new people that come in. We see this influx of new people that buy cowboy hats and they wear them backwards. I'm like, that just doesn't even make any sense. Like there's a tag in it. Like there's that bow. Why would you put that in the front of your head? It's the same as wearing a cap.
It is. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. We've all seen it. Yeah, we've all seen them.
Look around at everybody else. If you didn't get it from the tag, look around at everybody else.
I know. There ought to be some kind of course of when they buy it. Like, all right, here's how you wear it. Don't set it like this. Take it off when you meet a lady. All that.
Yeah, I've tried to change my perspective on that. I was definitely on the side of like, get out of here, dumbass type thing. And now I'm like, and also like you said, like the job is to build curiosity where they want to come to you and ask a question.
Yes.
Not you put it on them, because if you put it on them and they don't want it, then like you said, it's going to be more of a disconnect. And we just want to build that curiosity. Like if somebody comes to you like, hey, is my hat on backwards? You can say yes.
Yeah,
Thank
buddy,
you for asking.
Yeah. One thing that I've kind of used, my dad taught me, he said, people want to buy from people they know. It doesn't matter what product it is. They want to buy from somebody they know and trust. It's that way in the bull industry. And so we want to know, and the horse industry, and we want to know as many people as we can know. And those people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So if we can genuinely love them like Jesus would, if we can, I fail at every day. My wife would tell you that. If we can love those people and be a friend that, whether it's them asking, hey, is my hat on backwards? Or, hey, you got an Angus bull I can buy? That's where really good relationships come from, and it really helps our business. And I've used that on social media as well, of how they're like, you're too worried about views. And I'm like, well, I want views. That's success for my business.
Yeah.
And if I can get to know more people, that leads to another speaking engagement. That leads to somebody buying a piece of merch. That leads to a new guest on a podcast. And I just believe so much in the power of relationships with people in our niche and outside. Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked about this before with somebody that was on here, but like there's some type of number out there. They did a study, like your brain can't differentiate whether they're watching or listening through a screen or in person. And it takes so many hours for somebody to become like an acquaintance and then a friend and then a close friend.
That's interesting.
So if you have whatever it is, just say it was 100 hours, which you probably have more than that out there, but say it's 100 hours of content on the internet and somebody goes and watches all of it, they think of you as a close friend.
Wow.
Already. So like they want to do whatever you're selling, they probably want to buy, help you out however you can, and you don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's weird for me. I want to hear your take on it, because I'm not near as big, and I don't have that big a following as you yet, but like people will come up to me and like they know a lot about me already, and they're like, "Hey, Crockett, how's it going?" I'm like, "Dang, where did I meet this person at?" You know. And how has that been for you? Does that happen a lot to you?
It more all the time. I can't say it happens a lot, but if I'm in Fort Worth, it happens a whole lot more than if I'm, in another state or something. I kind of grew up with it just because my parents they do have a lot of friends, and I friends and then business friends and then people who buy bulls and people who buy horses. So I never knew. I was always meeting people a couple of times because I would see them once a year at a sale, and I wouldn't see them again until the next year. And I met 300 people that day. So now I have this thing of trying to figure out, okay, how do you know my horse's name? Is it because you've been to the ranch, or is it because you watch my YouTube or something like that? So that has been also a little uneasing because they know my kids' names. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that or not.
Yeah.
But it is a part of our ranch's story and a part of mine. We're always talking about the next generation and, how can we keep the ranch for that part of the family? And so some people don't like to share their family and their kids. I just believe it's a part of my story, and that I need to share it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I hear people talk about that, and it's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Lottie's probably going to grow up in the limelight. She loves to sing, so she may be a singer anyway.
Nice.
How did the social media? So I mean, you're using it for the ranch, and then at some point you realized like, hey, I can start getting checks from this. You got sponsorships and affiliates and brand deals, and social media is paying you, and then even speaking gigs. Like, when you started, did you see any of that happen, or did you just start kind of seeing that evolve?
It was in my vision. I had seen other people do that, and I was like, okay, so if I keep doing these are some options I have. There's not many doors that I go knock on, and as far as just my business journey, I'm not one to really go knock on doors and come to you and say, hey, can I be on the Wealthy Cowboy podcast? But I'm more to working on my business really hard and seeing what door opens. And whatever that is, I know the Lord opens doors and closes some. And so if there's one closed, my belief is that the Lord didn't want me to go there. But if it's open, man, I'm chasing it. And so that's really, I've just kept my options open. And that's what this has led to. As long as I just keep doing my job, I do have to remember that I am a rancher first and a cowboy first, and that's what helps my platform. As long as I do that, keep my foundation, my faith and my love for my family, then I believe in the long term that will help my social media platform. So, yeah, I just I keep working, I keep grinding, trying to figure out what the customer wants to see, what I think they need to see, and blend those two together and see what door opens.
Yeah, and it's evolved. I mean, talk about some of your speaking stuff. I mean, we've been trying to have you on here for a while, and you're always speaking somewhere.
Yeah.
Did that just kind of pop up?
It kind of did. I loved the thought. I remember I heard a speaker once, and he said, he's like, I got the best job in the world. I get paid to come to this convention, to eat and drink as much as I want. I get to bring my family with me. We're at a nice resort, and then you're going to pay me to do that? All I got to do is talk to you for 45 minutes about the things I love. It's like, I have the best job in the world. And I just remember being like, what? That's a job? And I still think that about broadcasting football. Like, you're going to pay me to talk about football? Like, yeah, I'm in. So in a world that's hungry for communication, it's really short on communicators. And so I love being that communicator, being able to paint the story. And I think also that's just a part of shining the light of Jesus and being a friend to people. That's my spot. That's what I like to do. Just before the podcast, I mentioned I got butterflies, and that's when I know I'm doing something that I like. Is when I get those little butterflies, I'm like, yeah, I'm right where I need to be.
Yeah,
and I get that from speaking, from going to these big events and meeting a lot of people. So speaking has been fun. I started by speaking for free at some college campuses, and then multiple times, probably 5 or 6 times before I got my first speaking gig. And it helps that my parents were both speakers, and now they're saying no more. And they're like, well, do you know anybody? And they're like, well, my son kind of does now. And so that's just been a shoe for me to put on as I move forward. But I had to learn the craft first. And speaking in front of college students really helped me do that, of learning how to be comfortable and also just knowing how to do my homework. You know, who am I talking to? What do they want to hear? What are they most interested in? And how can I slip in what I think is important into what they think is important? So I like to make people laugh. Speaking kind of helps me do that. Last year I got to go to Florida twice and take my family and get paid to do it. Like, just like that guy said that I heard, like, yeah, I'm living the dream. I get to ranch, leave for the weekend, fly to Palm Beach, Florida, take my family, go to the beach, to the pool, speak for 45 minutes about the industry I love, come back home and get back to ranching. That didn't automatically happen. I've been really working at it for 3 or 4 years now. And the ranching I've been working on for a lot longer. So, and like I said, I've been doing radio for 10 years. So I think people quit way sooner than they should on the things they love just because it doesn't happen right away.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be the one to quit.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Rogan, that was how he got started with the UFC. That's like how he became big, I would say, is a really well known from the UFC. And he's like, he did the first however many for free because he's like, man, you're going to give me the best seats in the house to sit right here. He's like, I would have paid to come to the event. And then he started getting paid for it. So it's really like everybody says, follow your passion. I think like that can be misconstrued. Like, you have to go make some money somehow. You do. And sometimes your passion can follow that once you get into an industry. Yeah, I've learned a lot from like, I used to say, you know, I would never do that. I would never do this. I would never do that. And then I ended up doing a lot of those things. And got passionate about it. So don't say never. And like, your passion can follow something. You just don't know. You don't know everything yet. You hadn't experienced everything yet.
Yeah.
And for sure, if somebody does have a lot of experience in whatever it is, I hear a lot of the people I listen to, like, they talk about like, you have knowledge in something. You have some kind of value to share to the world. You know, Martha Stewart got famous from just being a housewife, basically.
Yeah.
Cooking, and Rachel Ray. There's so many people. All you got to do is share what you're passionate about and video it, get it out to the world, and then. But you also got to work on it. You also got to make it attractive to the world. You're not. And I'm sure I haven't heard all those people's stories, but like, even for me, like I'm looking at the numbers. How can I be better at this, be better at that? And always trying to get better. How can we like package this different to where we find more people? It's part of the marketing thing, but this is, I've found passion with this and I never would have thought it ever. So I see both sides of it. And like you didn't have to branch out. It sounds like you already loved media and speaking and the ranching industry, and you combine those two. And I did, yeah. And you get to make a life out of it. It's pretty cool.
It is, and I really enjoy getting to take my family with me, and thankfully this job allows for that. It doesn't always on the ranch. My wife said she won't ride in the feed truck with me anymore, especially if it's in the winter because the heater doesn't work. But that'd be tough. That's not always open for the family. But there are definitely a lot of opportunities that I get to bring my little girls with me. And the ranching world doesn't always allow you to be home at 5. And I'm so thankful that my wife understands that. She grew up as a cotton farmer's daughter in the Panhandle. And I think she learned that growing up. And I hope my kids learn the same, that there's a job to do and you got to do it. But I hope you realize that there's time for family. And when that time is... when there is that time, that you need to take advantage of it. I'm so thankful to still have my grandparents with me. I don't know how much longer that'll be, but while they're here, I'm sure enough going to be trying to see them and trying to be with them. And same with my parents, or same with my kids. So I always think it would be so cool if I would have done social media 5 or 6 years earlier. But I don't know if I would have been able to handle. I think I would have gotten in trouble just with all the trouble or opportunity for trouble that comes with having that many followers or views. And I'm just so thankful for, the Lord. I feel like the Lord was like, hey, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
You're going to wait a little bit. When you're ready, when I think you're ready, it'll happen. So there's not much I worry about. Bible says not to worry about anything and pray about everything, and I take that to heart. There's really not much I worry about, especially if it's out of my hands. But if it's in my hands, I'm going to work on it.
Yeah, for sure. Who would you say your top 3 mentors are?
Top 3 mentors. I'd say my dad's number 1. I mentioned a lot of his stuff today, and a lot of that I remember and take to heart. My grandmother would be my other one. I hope I can love half as much. I hope I can love my family half as much as she did. She's just the best. I love Peggy Brown. Other mentor, I'm sure there's gonna be a few out there that slap me for not saying their name.
You could do 5 if you got 5 top ones.
I think Justin McKee would be one, especially as of recent. We talked about his clinic and just his willingness to teach and for me to watch and listen. But then this is a little bit out of the box. But a person that I grew up watching and wanting to be was Steve Irwin, and I loved how he was always like ready for whatever came at him, and whether it was jumping on a crock or whether it was just speaking in front of a crowd. And so I think watching him and wanting to be like that, and always ready for the action and the fun, and his ability to teach also kind of changed the way that I think and see and process the way I want to make my videos or paint the picture with the story I want to tell.
Yeah, and I've never thought about that, but like any of those guys in that little niche is similar to us. I mean, their animals are a little bit more deadly that they're dealing with, but they're still dealing with animals. And same deal you're trying to do. You're trying to teach and advocate for the industry and the preservation and conservation, as well as entertain, and no telling what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's definitely entertaining when a horse starts bucking and bucks somebody off or some kind of wreck happens.
It is until you're in it. It's not really entertaining then, is it? Yeah, you're right. And it's just capturing that is the issue for our industry.
Yeah. You're probably like, hey, you're telling your horse program guys like, hey, we need to have a few broncs in here. We need to breed for some
make him buck.
Yeah. We need to breed for some buckers and some wild ones. Yeah. This is too, not everybody wants to see a broke one all the time.
Yeah, it is fun when that stuff is captured because I just automatically know that it's going to do well.
Yeah.
I just
You're like, oh, this is good.
Yes, yeah. Right when it's happening and I'm like, yep, this is going to work.
Yeah. What would your advice be to someone who wants to start building a brand?
Building a brand.
We talked about all the benefits that can come from it. And I think it's also smart to look at it like you probably went into it with not the expectation to be rich and famous.
You're right.
That always helps if you don't go in with expectations like that.
You're right. Yeah, no doubt. I think on the important, I'm thankful to have grown up in a family that built a brand already. Like I'm not going to tell somebody I know how to build one. But it was fun for me to get outside of that umbrella and kind of build my own through social media. But in building a brand, I think we're battling for people's time, for people's market share, for people's money. And it goes back to where I think people quit too soon quite often. My advice would be whatever it is, if it is social media, it doesn't have to be fancy. All you have to do is show what you're doing and why. And as long as you have a customer base and you're making a product that the customer wants to buy, I think if you do it for a year, post 2 or 3 times a week, showing what you're doing and why, that that's how you build the brand. And it takes a year to get any type of market share, I feel like. How far along do you think your podcast has come in a year?
Yeah, a lot. And it took, it was always growing, but close to a year, like at 10 months, it seemed to start compounding a little bit more. So yeah, it definitely takes time.
I agree.
And there's, I heard a really good explanation kind of this, and I can't remember exactly the guy's name that said it, but he was talking about the law of doubling, and he's like, you start out with 0, and then you get to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, or say you did a podcast or video and 5 people watched, and so you start out with 5, and then it'll take you a shorter amount of time, and then you'll have 10 people, and then you go to 20, and then it just keeps doubling, and it does it faster. And I definitely see that, like in just talking about YouTube. Like, do you have YouTube too?
Yes, sir.
So like YouTube, 1,000 subscribers gets you to where you can monetize. So that was like my goal forever. I was like, I want to get to 1,000. I want to get to 1,000, even though you don't make much money from it. But I was like, I was watching that number, and it was like, it seemed like forever. It was months and months and months to get to 1,000. And then in like 2 months, like that, it was at 2,000.
Yeah.
And then now in even a shorter amount of time, I'm at like this morning, I was like a few away from 3,000. So that kind of like when I heard that, and then I think back to my story, and it's funny to see that like I found truth in that. Like
yes.
It feels like it takes forever. And then you're going to double that, in a shorter amount of time. And then a shorter amount of time, you can double that. And you can do it with your income, your followers, your views, whatever it is you focus on.
Yeah, right.
If you're in the livestock business, you probably use a hot shot, and it seems like they're always either broke or dead when you need one. Hercules Ag has solved that problem. I got one of their hot shots when it first came out, and I still haven't even had to charge it or anything, and it works every time. I just got my second one in, and I got a little short shaft on it to leave it to shoot. They have several different options for shafts to fit whatever needs you need, from long to short. They also have the 50 milliliter repeater syringes, and it comes with different color ends, so you know which medicine goes in which syringe, which is a big hassle. Check out HerculesAg.com today to order yours or to see about becoming a dealer, and use discount code CC10 at checkout for 10% off your order.
I believe it to be true. And I really do. It goes back to, having a job, working hard at it, and then can your passion blend with it, or can your passion be a side job? I think too many never give their passion that shot. I don't know. Heartbreaking to see, but I just love it when other people do. And surrounding, I think it's important to somebody trying to build a brand. Find a brand that you want to be like, and do the things they do.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Surround yourself with people that are better than you are. And if you're the biggest fish in the pond, you get to the next pond.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll give everybody my secret sauce. I copied other people. Everything that I do, I copied somebody else that was already big. Bradley it's all mainstream people, so I don't know if anybody will know or not, but Bradley dropping bombs. It was like the first podcast besides Cowboy podcast I started listening to, his business, and I loved it. It's telling people stories, and then it has tactical business stuff in there and education. And I watch how many times he posts a week. I watch what he's posting on his short form, how many times he's releasing long form. The Wealthy Cowboy actually came from Ryan Pineda. His brand is the Wealthy. Everything wealthy. It was like the Wealthy Way, the Wealthy Kingdom, the Wealthy Investor, the Wealthy Creator. And so I was like, the Wealthy Cowboy.
There you go.
So I branched it off of that, and I followed, his stuff, and I took his courses and read his stuff, and same deal. Tried to copy kind of what he was doing. And now like going into now, I think live, and we were talking about this before, like going live on social media is a big thing. So, and Bradley, like he's doing some of his stuff live. So I'm like, let's try it out and see what happens.
Yep.
But when I started, I was like, we're going to do it for a long period of time to kind of get a lot of data. A lot of people don't have a lot of data to go off of. Like, I tried that for a week and it don't work. And it's like, no, you just don't have enough to do anything with. Like, first, let's do it consistently for a year or 6 months or 3 months at least or something like that. And then we can go from there.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
And what are you listening to? Do you listen to a lot of podcasts or books or speeches, you know, since you're in that deal? Or
yeah, I since I started doing my podcast and social media and too, it kind of my what I make is like I've heard this said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And I think my content has become the same of whichever creators I'm watching the most is whatever 5 creators, my content tends to average what theirs is like. So I try not to watch too many creators in my niche just because I don't want to steal the Wealthy Cowboys idea. I mean, am I going to use some ideas that I see from you? Probably, because I've seen that it works. But I don't want to become, you know, the Wealthy Cowboy Show 2.0.
Yeah.
So I want to make it my own. So I tend to like make people laugh. So I listen to some comedians. John Christ is one of my favorites. And I'll listen to some Joe Rogan. He's got some interesting folks on there. There's a couple. I always try to keep my foundation in Jesus and continuing to learn there. And so there's a couple podcasts that I listen to that are very educational about the Bible, not just reading the Bible, but very educational about the times. It's called 40 Minutes in the Old Testament or 30 Minutes in the New Testament. 2 of them that I really like to listen to. I'll jump in some Ben Shapiro every now and then. I really like data. He throws a lot of data out there, so I like to know what's going on and be educated. And sometimes I got to take a break from that because it'll make me mad. But there are times where I want to know what's going on. Got to check out the data, and then that's where it is.
Yeah, yeah, and like on that, you're talking about like you're wanting to be funny, so you listen to comedian. I listen and do a lot of sales stuff, and like that's a big deal. That was a big deal for me, kind of being shy and introverted, trying to learn that whole process, the communication process.
Yes.
And they were saying like, just start listening to great speakers, and that will kind of like osmosis, you know, you'll start picking up on the trends. You can start talking a little bit like that. And I think it does help a little bit. I mean, even if you're not practicing in the mirror or like copying them verbatim, like still, I think it just kind of rubs off on you if you listen to good communicators or comedians. Like you're going to start picking up on that little deal they got.
I agree 100%. I will watch football games to listen to the announcers. I mean, whenever I get to listen to Jim Nantz and Tony Romo call a game, I really enjoy it. And I'll find myself on the road like playing an intro song and just ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Tucker Brown and Tony Romo here with you. And I like just that's rubbing off on me. You know? And that gives me that little butterfly of something I like.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be up there with Butch Knowles and Jeff Metters one day? Or something?
Maybe so. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I do enjoy. Somebody has asked me like if I'll chase a TV or something. I don't know I doubt ESPN will ever call, but or the Cowboy Channel. I don't know. I doubt they'll ever call it. It's not really something I'm chasing because I do really like having my own platform. I can say what I want. It's on my time. I'm open to it. Maybe the Lord will open a door and me go, but I'm really enjoying where I'm at of being able to say the words that I want to say and share the things that I'm most passionate about in a way where other people can understand it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, you could probably, if you had somewhere to set up, you know, you could go to the NFR and have your own deal and have your own broadcast, you know, just go live on social media. It's cool that we have the ability to do that, you know, nowadays.
It really is.
And like I said, you might get more views than the Cowboy channel, you know?
It may happen. And I know, I mean, that ag industry is a little slower to move that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times, change is hard. But it is really neat whenever I do get asked to go. I got asked to go to the Pendleton Roundup and share my experience. They're like, we just want you to share your experience because we believe you're going to like it enough that you will want somebody else to go. And that is exactly what happened.
You just documented it, basically.
Yep, I did. I just documented what happened, what I did, how much fun I had, and they're like, yeah, that's exactly what we want. So I think there is future opportunity for that. You know, will Cheyenne ever call and say, hey, we want you to do what you did at Pendleton? I don't know.
All it takes is the one person to see it, the right person to see some of your stuff and like it.
It does, and I envision it as I mentioned. I don't knock on doors. I know some people doing it really works for them, but I'm not really a door knocker. But I like to be the guy that's kind of in the shadows. And when somebody doesn't work out, when somebody doesn't show up or quits or leaves, that when somebody's looking for somebody else and they turn on the light, that I'm there waiting. I'm that guy that's prepared. I've done my homework. I'm still working on my business, but I'm ready to fill that
opportunity.
Spot. Yes, yeah, exactly. And that happened at the NFR this year. Live with Lucia is on the Cowboy channel with Anthony Lucia, and his I met him through the Justin McKee Clinic, stayed in touch with him, and somebody didn't show up, and he's like, hey, I've got a hole, and you mind being on the show? Like, yeah, I'll go. And that's where I find a lot of enjoyment, because I do believe that if they're asking me to talk, I'm guessing it's about the things I love. And so, yeah, I'm always ready to take that opportunity.
Yeah, and something I just thought of was like listening to you talk about documenting and all that. And I know we talked about getting started, but and I've started coaching some people a little bit on social media and how to build a brand a little bit. Do you think like what are your thoughts on equipment, and like, do you have to have the right setup and this and that, or did you just jump in and go?
With a lot of the businesses that I start or chase or brands I try to work with, I'm definitely put my toe in the water first and feel it out. All of my very first videos until this past June, so the past 6 or 7 months, I've started to use a camera. Before then, it was all my cell phone. I edited it all on CapCut. So it was a free editing app. I already had my phone. Everything I was doing cost me no money. Did that for a couple of years, and whenever I started to get those brands that were counting on me and believing in my platform, I started to reinvest that. And so I kind of creative finance, the way my dad talks about it. I used what I already had to build a platform that people wanted to be a part of. And I'm playing the long game. So I think the short game on social media is doing something really, really political or something very divisive. And I don't like to do that. I like to share the truth, show the data, and use edutainment. So I used everything for free for like 2 years. And finally, when that investment started coming in, I started to invest in myself. And that was with a camera. And now with a podcast, I've got a soundboard and some microphones. And so I hired a person in February. And thankfully, I had some people to ask. I love asking people who are already successful in their job. So shout out to Dale Brisby. He's been awesome to visit with and talk to on just allowing me to bounce things off his head like, hey, should I do this? And I love it because he'll go, whoa, no. Or it's like, yeah, you should. And so he was kind of helpful in a lot of those things, including hiring. He's like, he told me to wait for a while. He's like, you'll know when, you're not ready yet. And finally, he said, he's like, you'll know. And sure enough, when that moment came, I was like, all right, I know. And he's like, yeah, you probably are. Here you go. Let's hire somebody. So I really do appreciate people like Dale and people who are willing to share their knowledge and helping others. And I don't think it's because he thought that it would help him, but just helping somebody who's hungry for that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've from what I've seen and like knowing me, and I see it in other people, is like you got to build that habit first. I mean, it's like kind of what I was saying like earlier, goes on the same deal. Like build that consistency, and then once you get a lot of data, then you can perfect that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like before you go out and spend money, like let's build the habit of pulling your phone out and video and being able to talk in front of a camera, and capturing stuff, whatever it's going to be. Or you don't have to video. You can take pictures. You can make written posts, and go viral on X or Facebook. But let's build that habit first of posting and creating content, and then is it time to go get some microphones or go get a different kind of camera or a different kind of tripod or whatever it is, let's build the habit first.
I agree. Totally agree. I think that's very wise.
And then just wrap up. Got to know this from everybody. What's your favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant. Oh man. I have more atmospheres means a lot to me. Because I believe I'm just as happy eating ground beef and corn and beans at home if I'm with some of my best friends or if I'm with a bunch of friends. So I tend to like to be at places where there is I'm probably a little uncomfortable in a white tablecloth place. So I'm probably the happiest and most enjoy and keep wanting to go back to places like Caprock Cafe in Lubbock. It's not fancy. Have some good drinks, have some good burgers, and there's always something on TV. It's kind of a sad answer, but yeah, it's probably one of my favorites.
I think a lot of people from this area that are on here. So, I've heard like every steakhouse in Fort Worth, and then Miles Baker of all people. There was about 3 or 4 right there in a row that said Texas Roadhouse, and I was like, what? They're like, yeah, it's just consistent. I'm like,
it is. That's so true.
It is.
You'll never have a bad steak there. Yeah, and you will always have awesome bread and butter.
Yeah,
always.
So it was funny. He might have been the first one to say that, and then like I think that's what Tucker Teague said, and there was a few people. I was like, of all the places,
what's yours? I'm curious.
Oh man, it'd be tough.
I'm not as good on the Fort Worth side, mostly because when I come here, it's for an event, so I'm like eating at the event.
Yeah. The other day was our anniversary when we went to Del Frisco's. It's consistent and it's really good, and I like the steakhouse atmosphere.
I do like Del Frisco's. I concur.
But we need to go. Like it's hard because we know that's good, but we also haven't tried all of them.
Yeah.
So that's what we were debating on the other day. We were like, should we go to Eddie V's? Everybody says that. The Capitol Grill, all those. But
I've heard the Capitol Grill is good. I do enjoy. There's many locals that don't like Joe T's, but I do because I love Mexican food. And
that's the coolest environment.
It is
to be outside. If the weather, the weather's nice, you can be outside in the cool, like whatever you call it, compound. And it's like old school, and there's everybody just out having a good time. And
yep.
The food's good.
It's hard. I think those really nice places, like I love raising and eating my own beef, and I will. If you want to give me a steak, I will eat it. And if you want to go out to a steakhouse, I will go and I will eat it. But always in my mind, I'm like, man, I didn't have to pay this much for a nice steak.
Or could have had better at home.
Yeah, and I don't always believe that my beef is always better than anybody else's, but I just do. Like I'm like, gosh, I didn't have to spend $300. Like what? I could have taken you to get your nails done. We could have taken the kids to Peppa Pig World. We could have whatever. And that I guess that's one of my curses.
Yeah,
is that I think that way when I'm at a nice place.
Oh, for sure.
If I'm paying.
Yeah, you're paying. You're paying for the environment for sure.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is a testament to you and anybody else raising. There's so many people that raise beef and sell it now, and so many people have good beef. I get it from a guy. It's half Wagyu, and I mean, be some of the best steaks that you can get, and stacked in the freezer. It's like. I just got one done the other day. It was under $5 a pound, $4 a pound or something like that.
Awesome.
And that's what I'm like, I pull that steak out and I'm like, look at the marbling. And I'm like, man, this is like $100 steak somewhere.
Yes.
And I get to eat it at home.
Yep.
For $5.
Yeah. Incredible.
So, yeah, you can get from you or anybody else. I always say whoever's local to you, or if they want to come get Ari Brown beef or however you brand it, like that's the way to go. And I think it's better than a lot of places.
I could see that for sure. And there's that placebo effect of like, I know this person and I know how he raised it, so it is better. Like that is in people's mind, whether it is better or not. That placebo effect is real. Mm-hmm. And people like to buy from people they know, and if they feel like they know me off social media, they want to buy my beef. As long as I'm producing a product that's high quality, and I believe we do create a quality product. So the beef business has been interesting, different than the cattle business.
Yeah,
is what I've learned. But I do enjoy it.
And speak on that as we wrap up. If somebody doesn't know where you are on social media, where can they find you? Where can they find your beef? Where can they find all the stuff the ranch has going on?
Yeah. We're 2 different platforms, Ari Brown Ranch. You can follow what we do there. We're posting a lot right now about the ranch rodeo we just won, which was really fun there in Fort Worth. And then Tucker Brown RAB for RA Brown Ranch. Tucker Brown RAB is my platforms on everything: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, however long that's going to be around. But that's where you can find all our stuff, rabrownranch.com. You can check out, we have a really cool sale coming up with 3-day event, ranch horse competition, horse sale, great music, bull and female sale the next day. That's on March 10th, 11th, and 12th. I think that's the event that we're most excited about in the next 5 years, is this March sale event. We're expecting about 1,000 people those 3 days, and we're really excited about what's coming from that.
Yeah, that's cool. And then the beef, where you sell the beef at?
I sell it through a couple places. Fort Worth Cattle Co. is one of them. They're here in Fort Worth, and they package it and ship it for me. And then if you want a half or a whole, that's just contacting me on social media or calling the ranch. We have a website where you can put a down payment for a half beef, and we can talk details from there, just because typically different with each person depending on their location. And I try to get it processed close to them. And you want beef from the ranch? We got it.
And then your podcast.
The Registered Ranching Podcast is ranching. That's with a G. Registered Ranching Podcast. I kind of have a mix of all kinds of people on there. Of some really good cowboys, some good horse trainers. I've got some veterans on there. That's been a really neat learning opportunity for me by getting to meet all these people and learn from them. It's probably what I'm most excited about. Mm-hmm. So I have this vision where I can bring somebody in, like I can get Tony Romo. He can come ranch with me for a day. I can cook him a steak, and the next day we do a podcast. That's my vision. Whether that door opens or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the vision.
If that's your vision, I'm sure it'll happen. Dale, look at who Dale gets. I'm like, I'd text him and I'm like, dude, you had freaking Mark Cuban on?
Yeah.
Like,
isn't that crazy?
And Terry Bradshaw. I'm like, how do you get these people? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, awesome. Y'all go check out all the Tucker stuff he's got going on. If you don't already follow him, go follow him. Keep up with all the stuff they got going on. Share the show out. If you didn't get any value out of it, somebody else probably will. So share it out, and we'll see y'all next time. A mastermind has the sole purpose of getting you further, faster, and that's exactly what we're doing with the Wealthy Cowboy Show Mastermind. It is for the person that's ready to start out building their business, or someone just looking to get their business to the next level. We will have live Q&A calls that you can ask past and future guests questions that relate specifically to you. You'll also hear ideas and be able to network with people that could open you up to a completely different way of thinking that could change your life. Click the link below if you're looking to go to the next level in business and in life.